Hey everybody, this is Silverspook, and this is the Silverspook video about nuke worrying people and how the West can stop threatening to and almost succeeding in ending the world all the time, all in order to maintain profits, particularly for neocons. But anyways, this is the Silver Spook is not doing a specifically about a particular movie video in support also of the WGA and SAG-AFTRA strike actions that are currently ongoing. Support the strikers. We support the strikers in as part of the process of that's actually part of the process of getting to a place where you're not constantly threatening and saber rattling and spending $1 trillion nearly and multi trillions in off the official military spending books worth of your American dollars and other countries' dollars, threatening to end the world is actually part of it. Is supporting these strikes. I'll get to that hopefully over the course of this stream. But anyways, don't forget to like, subscribe, give us the following, all the things that you do. Hit the whistles, the bells, punch the bazooka. Well, don't hit the red button. Actually, don't do that. We want to stop that. But hit all of the bells and whistles. Give us a Ko-Fi and Patreon support if you can, and help us out to keep this channel going. And of course, don't forget Neofeud is also on sale right now. What's up, Victor? Anyways, so so nuke worrying. You can kind of guess what this is around, but this is a picture of a screenshot from Dr. Strangelove, or How I Learned to Stop Worrying and Love the Bomb is the very long title of the 1960s black comedy starring Peter Sellers and directed by Stanley Kubrick, etc. But the movie, of course, was about based on a actual book, Red Alert, that is also a comedic satire of what could happen in a possible nuclear one possible nuclear apocalyptic scenario. But the point is not to talk about reviewing a movie. So, but I went back and we watched this recently because we wanted to talk about. I wanted to talk about kind of like there's so much. I don't even know where to start with this. There's so many updates. Later on in the Twitch stream, I'm going to go over more of this. I don't have time right now, but important. I think the most important stuff is that while it's good that people are, thinking about, realizing that there is still a nuclear threat, and that, the possibilities of, not that you should be thinking about nuclear war all the time, but like that the realities of nuclear weapons and the realities of nuclear testing also, which is horribly damaging to environment and people and continues to be to this day. It's important that people realize that. I don't think that, a lot of people, despite some things that are coming out now, there isn't a lot of realization. I think there isn't not enough spotlight on how the testing has impacted especially indigenous people, such as people in the Pacific, like the Marshallese people in particular. Since I brought that up, this is I'll just like go over this because I briefly talked about this. So the U.S. did nuke the Marshall Islands 67 times. Among other places that they nuked. They also nuked places in Turtle Island and harmed indigenous communities massively. 67 times, and the fallout devastated thousands. The U.S. and the West are still the ones driving to end the world today while pretending to care in some of their movies and other propaganda and in their news talking about security, but they are the most security destroying security. They are the most insecurity causing entity. The United States is capitalist class, all subdivisions of it, but especially the the military industrial complex branch, which is not necessarily in lockstep with a lot of the other capitalist business executives, like the Gates and the Gates and the executives at tech companies and companies that produce products, right? Some of them, they're not all in lockstep. They're all together though. Are part of ending the world, but the neocons want to end it a little bit faster, or in a little bit more explosively. The rest of the capitalist class just want to end it in a slower slower climate fire. The neocons is very fast nuclear fire. That's the only difference between the branches of the U.S. and the Western capitalist world, is how fast do we end the world. One, in a Doctor Strangelove, 10,000 nuclear weapons, sending us into nuclear winter with radioactive thorium and cobalt, just circulating throughout the atmosphere with Fallout future? Or do we want to end the world a little bit slower with total climate collapse due to capitalist overconsumption, fossil fuel burning, and greenhouse gas emission, etc.? But that's the thing, is that that's all coming from the United States. That's a very important thing to remember. This is one of the nuclear weapons being set off. Let me just turn this off there. Yeah. So the nuclear weapons that they developed, it's important to remember that the United States is the one who developed it. Whatever they want to say about it, the United States is the one who did develop the nuclear weapons. Number one. Number two, when they tested it at sites in New Mexico, which there's somebody else made a thread about that, which I recommend you read. But between 1946 and 1958, the United States conducted 67 nuclear tests in the Marshall Islands. The U.S. conducted 23 of those tests at Bikini Atoll. I've actually been to the Marshall Islands, by the way. I did some work there briefly and visited, and they're not doing well under the United States colonialism, nuclear radiation, as well as kind of using it to this day to test intercontinental ballistic missiles being fired into the center of this lagoon, Kwajalein. The U.S. military abuses the crap out of those people. Still, they have people sleeping in shifts on this island, Ibai, to service Kwajalein. The U.S. still operates in the Marshall Islands. They're not done with their colonialism in the Marshall Islands. And they have some of the most highest rates of population density on the earth in this tiny little atoll, where only the Marshallese live, and the white and American soldiers all live in another much more spacious area. And they bring in these people who have to sleep in shifts. Sometimes I bring that up, but it's important. That is in the Marshall Islands, which are still being abused to this very day by the United States. They pay off their own puppet leaders there who go to Vegas and have $1 million vacations all over the place, and they're vassals of the United States. I've even stayed in the house of the guy who was the vassal puppet in the Marshall Islands, who gets all the money, spends it on alcohol and other stuff, and then hasn't really helped a lot of the rest of the people out to allow the U.S. to keep using the Marshall Islands as a base of operations, military destruction, threat mongering around the world. So the Marshall Islands have been irradiated. They conducted 67 tests, 23 of these on Bikini Atoll, like I said on this picture. This is some of the results of that. This is not even, there's a lot of people that just can't even have children anymore because there were so many jellyfish babies. The level of radiation impact was just immense. This is some of the kids who are losing their hair because of the fallout. They didn't tell anyone. They said everyone would be safe. They told the Marshallese people, the United States said, it'll be fine. Just go about your business. Lied to them. Tested radiation on indigenous people. That's basically what the U.S. did. Nuke far away from their nice. The U.S. should. Why doesn't the U.S. test radiation on the wasps in Connecticut? Why doesn't the U.S. test radiation on George Lucas's kids in Marin County? Why doesn't the U.S. test radiation on Joe Biden's family? Why doesn't the U.S. test radiation on all the rich white children? That's the question. The reason why is because the same reason why they do everything else: white supremacy, colonialism, and capitalism. That runs the United States. That still runs the United States. And they're the number one evil. So that's basically it. But I have a whole thread about the rest of that they still in Hawaii, they still use Hawaii as the center of the Indo-Pacific Command. Actually, I'll you know what? I'll just today is just this is what the U.S. has been doing since World War II. You don't need to watch any movies about white men having worries about bombs. The United States has been destroying the world and overthrowing, stopping democracies, targeting countries, plotting and assassinating everyone who tries to get out from under capitalism. I want to make this a very important point. Everyone accepts now, most people who have any kind of rationality, I mean, there's not many left in the West, but if you have some kind of rational, somewhat slightly empirical mind, you accept that capitalism is over-consuming resources for profit, which is central to destruction of the world, the ecology, the plants, the animals, the water, the biosphere, everything, right? If you don't accept that, then okay, you can live with Dr. Strangelove in La La Land, I guess. But if you accept that capitalism is killing the world and all the humans on it as well, right? And the United States is the number one purveyor, maintainer, and supporter and enforcer of capitalism, which it is. It has admitted that since the 1950s. Sometimes it doesn't like to talk about it that much. Sometimes it does. Sometimes it likes to hide it. Sometimes it pushes it out in the open. This year, unanimous vote, 90% of the United States Congress voted the United States is a pro-capitalist, anti-socialist country. It's always been that. It is the United States is the purveyor of capitalism, and the West and the Europeans and all their friends and vassals together, because the U.S. is just a Euro settler colony, have always been the purveyors of capitalism. If capitalism is destroying the world and the United States is the number one maintainer and pusher and defender of capitalism, if you fought for the United States, if your grandpa fought in World War II and your dad fought in Vietnam, and you talk about, because people were up in this thread, Americans were like, my dad, some guy was like, my grandpa fought in the World War II and the Vietnam War and the Korean War and the Iraq, and my dad fought in the Iraq War. I fought in the Second Iraq War. I fought in the Syrian War. I swam, or my dad swam in the water, in the Nuke waters in the Marshall Islands, and I'm fine, and I vacation in Hawaii all the time. And they were like, so I don't see any problems. The United States is great. What the U.S. military is doing is great. You're a war criminal. If you have ever fought for the United States, you fought to destroy the world. I mean, you also literally committed genocide in Korea and Vietnam, genocidal wars of mass slaughter, just human rights violations left and right. Also, sex tourism, sexual trafficking is what you were involved in also and supported. If you have ever fought for the United States, the West, any Western military, you fought for evil, but definitely the United States. You fought to destroy the world by maintaining capitalism. The Vietnam War was a war to prevent the spread of communism, which is the opposite of capitalism. You fought to destroy the world. The climate change is your grandpa's fault, is your dad's fault, is your fault. Period. If the West could, what the West has to do, what the U.S. has to do is just lose. Just lose. Just go on strike. If every American joined SAG-AFTRA and the Writers Guild and ground their gears to a halt and destroyed the capitalist classes that they're always whining about, but they don't do anything about, because they're cowards, because they don't care enough, or just they're too spoiled little brats. That's basically what it is. Too much wealth in the West, and too many fucking, too much nice things for them. But if the West and the United States at its helm got rid of its capitalist class, like some of the communist countries they were trying to destroy, we wouldn't have the climate change problem wrecking everything. We wouldn't have the nuclear problem wrecking everything, because all the other countries the socialist countries are ready to do business. Who's the ones that are threatening to blow the world up, right? With 10 million degree fusion of hydrogen atoms, the fission of radioactive isotopes. Who are the ones that are threatening nuclear war by trying to push proxy wars in the Taiwan Strait right now? Right now. It's the United States and all the capitalist countries who have sick, twisted, Dr. Strangelove-like characters, unhinged, lunatic nut jobs, like Carl Jobs Carl Jobs called them nut jobs. So you have a Chinese, citizen, an actual historian, call them that. So I'm going to call them that for a little bit. The actual Strangelove characters that are not sane, they're like playing with Fallout Future. They salami slice. They're like, what if we throw another match in the gasoline bin and see if we only start a small war with a nuclear armed country, right? The US, the job of every American person and every Western person is to undo the Strangelove billionaire ghoul run oligarchies that they have failed to undo for the last really thousands of years, but definitely the last 100 years. You know, the Chinese and the Cubans, which they have some interesting comments about Cuba as well. This movie is actually the Strangelove. It's more honest than I don't watch movies right now. I don't promote them certainly. I mostly just dunk on them. But it's more honest because it came like it was not quite so deep into the anti-communist programming. There's still the Red Scare was I think was ongoing in this time, but it was a little. It's like Day the Earth Stood Still is another one, right? But it's like Strangelove was actually a literal character, right? I told Holly about if you want to actually read it, actually useful article. It's still a very important one. This is what you should read if you want to actually know how to stop nuclear war. This is one of them. This is an actual educated person, but it's not a white Western person. It's an Asian person who has like has deep knowledge of the United States military industrial complex and is published on a diaspora Chinese website. But anyways, the Dr. Strangelove is not it's actually a documentary, right? Andrew Marshall, who died last year, was often referred to as Yoda. Oh shit, what is this? Andrew Marshall, who died last year, was often referred to as Yoda, the Pentagon's oracle, directing its secretive internal think tank, the Office of Net Assessments, for 42 years, and was a top advisor to 12 secretaries of defense. Originally part of an elite group of econometric thinkers at RAND, Herman Strangelove Kahn, that was his literal name was Strangelove, James Schlesinger, Daniel Ellsberg, one of the famous leakers of the unhinged lunatics' plans to nuke China 62 times. Is if the Chinese communists took Taiwan or tried to take it, there was plans. There's one of many plans to shoot nuclear weapons into China. So this idea, many of these ideas of just like ridiculous genocidal and also just world-ending plans were literally constantly at the highest levels of U.S. Western capitalist thinking. So the movie is a documentary. That's the point of this. One of the points in this very important article. They worked on a game theoretic and stochastic modeling of complex phenomena on how to strategize the unthinkable and the insane, how to win at nuclear Armageddon. Throughout his long tenure at the inner sanctum, Marshall had two key obsessions: U.S. military supremacy, the fight against the Soviet Union, and then after the fall of the Soviet Union, USSR, against China. Post-1991, he became singularly obsessed with preventing China's rise to power, which, him and Brzezinski was the other, but the Marshall figure is more Strangelove. The Brzezinski figure is also, Zbigniew Brzezinski is the writer of the Grand Chessboard, maintaining American primacy basically ad infinitum. It's literally about world domination, right? That's why it's always the bad guys in the Western Hollywood movies is some villain, probably Russian, plotting world domination. The United States has been constantly trying to maintain world domination ever since the end of World War II. But anyways, throughout his long tenure at the Inner Sanctum, Marshall had two. So he had post 1991. He became singularly obsessed with preventing China's rise to power with using a deft mixture of threat inflation. Like I have a whole video just about threat inflation, through the recondite net assessments and heterodox Team B review, classified white papers, cryptic pronouncements to the power elite, the incessant cultivation of a cult of loyalists. He kept the Pentagon's gravy train running on time, which is, again, it's always about keeping the military, the profit-seeking capitalist military-industrial complex constantly pushing mountains of money, which they established during World War II, constantly getting the government money printer to be funneling mountains of money at the military, that could then be, to make massive amounts of money for the Lockheed Martins today, the Lockheed Martins, the Raytheons, et cetera, right? And also for some people who seek more power and domination for its own sake, or have an ideological antagonism specifically against communists, right? But it's some confluence of these things, right? If you just want to win the chessboard game, you don't care about the money, the West has got you covered. DC has you covered there. If you and in fact, a lot of DC, they say Congress, was this Mearsheimer saying Congress is more. He's somebody who does. He's also like not the best character, but he does some actual thinking. Sometimes in the West, but the actual Congress is more geared towards war. The executive branch is less right now. Is less, like Biden's administration is less committed to going full speed ahead into nuclear war with Dr. Strangelove. But some combination of trying to win ridiculous, unwinnable games, that's all part of Strangelove too. You can see the different facets, right? But everyone is capitalist in that, right? They're all American, right? Which is synonymous with capitalism. Go read the Ayn Rand written document of the Motion Pictures Preservation of American Ideals plan, which is what Hollywood was made for, to preserve capitalism, right? Hollywood actually should be abolished, because Hollywood, the entire purpose of it is to literally preserve capitalism for the United States, which is, as the Congress unanimously voted, capitalist forever. So Pentagon's gravy train running on time, insisting in his followers a paranoid, longue durée mindset of endless and moving threat inflation. So if it's not the Soviet Union, then it's China. Soviet Union, terrorism, Afghanistan. There's a threat coming from south of the border. There's threats coming, but you need the really big threats, right? Terrorism, they're gonna hit us at home. Iraq, any second, the WMDs are gonna show up. So the purpose of the American is to be perpetually brainwashed, drugged by, as Carl recently pointed out, the fentanyl that the United States allows in, made with generic precursors that are used to make treatments for cancer drugs, treatments such as cancer drugs, and a variety of all types of vanilla pharmaceuticals, which come into Mexico, and the United States does not stop getting into North America. And in fact, the Chinese government was working with the United States to try to track the fentanyl. But the United States, when it started accusing of China of having weather balloons threatening to drop nuclear weapons on the United States and spying on, some small town at the edge of the United States, right? And the United States started accusing China's police stations of being eavesdropping facilities. Then the Chinese stopped working with them on the fentanyl thing. But the West is just it's a long story of narco traffickers going all the way back to the founding of the United States, the British in India, trafficking it into China, and then Chinese kicking them out, then moving it to the Golden Triangle, Myanmar in particular, and of course Afghanistan was recently where the narco traffickers have been trafficking all their narco. But and so wherever the CIA shows up, that there will be narco trafficking coming soon, and then blaming it all on South Americans on their Netflix series like Narco, right? The Narco should be a movie about American presidents and British elite. That's what Narco should be about, but they don't make those movies because that's Hollywood's purpose, is to do whitewashing and apologism for capitalist, narco trafficking, colonialist, unhinged, idiot ghouls. Also called rich white guys. But anyways, so I don't have a lot of time, so I'm just kind of blasting through this because I gotta get off and I gotta take a nap before I stream in the Twitch later on. But I didn't want to do a specific. I didn't want to do a specific promotion of a recently released thing because we're trying not to promote any struck work. But let's obviously this it's hard to talk about these things. I mean, I want to talk about the topics that I use the screenshot to dovetail into rather than to kind of focus on the shows. Okay, but anyways, so going a little bit more from that though, somebody else pointed out, okay, so that this is important for people to know. Never mind the movie stuff, but let's like why you shouldn't watch some movies, right, that might be in the theaters. Why nuclear testing and trauma and devastation should not be sensationalized or celebrated. So why natives won't be watching something and you should not either. So why the trauma and devastation should not be sensationalized or celebrated. Okay, where's the rest of this? Trying to get the see my right. Okay. I think I can get it here. Let's see. Okay. Wait. Where did it go? Seems might have been disappeared. Oh, you have the thread reader. Okay. It's something that's if you can get it to me. Okay. Um. Okay. Okay. Oh, okay. I got the front of it. Okay. I think somehow I figured that out. So, anyways, yeah. Warning: there is discussion of uranium mining, negligence of indigenous bodies, harm to indigenous lands, mentioning of government genocidal tactics. So where did the uranium come from? Okay. So yeah. So this we're going to talk about the actual. So obviously, if you personally in your family have experienced this specific trauma, just kind of warning. We're going to talk about nuclear testing and the impacts of that on indigenous peoples. Uranium was mined in the United States long before 1950, known as the atomic age, as many mines were opened up in 1944 and operating until 1986 on indigenous land. Many mines were in the southwest region of the United States on Navajo, Hopi, Apache, Pueblo, Ute, Paiute, Shoshones, and other lands belonging to indigenous caretakers. Uranium mill tailings from the former Atlas mining site sits in a restricted area 3 miles outside the town of Moab, Utah. Harmful effects of radiation were known before 1950, so German scientists Wilhelm Hoeper and others knew of the harmful and lethal effects of radioactive material from a project in Czechoslovakia. When Hoeper, then at the National Cancer Institute, tried to warn the U.S. public of radiation, he was silenced by the U.S. government. Even so much that he was barred from traveling west of the Mississippi River, where there were active mines on indigenous lands. So, right, it's important to remember, right, he was a National Cancer Institute, right? He was at the National Cancer Institute, tried to warn people of radiation, and was silenced by the U.S. government. So, if the United States had a democracy, it would have already overthrown its government because its government was trying to get itself irradiated. This is the problem I have with Westerners. But just a quick, recap to what I said earlier. If the United States had a democracy, it would not allow its government to be so amazingly abusive. But the United States doesn't have no Western country has a democracy. Any capitalist country is not a democracy. Right? Because Americans talk about this happening all the time. Oh, this terrible thing happened. Oh, this terrible thing happened. Oh, this terrible thing happened. And then they talk about we have a democracy. No, if you had a democracy, you would stop the government from having those problems. Just like amazingly egregious problem. America is like literally killing all of its citizens right now in like 25 different ways. I think I have to enumerate them. One of them is with massive waves of heat stroke and dying of thirst and stuff. Never mind the healthcare. But Americans vote, and that's actually the problem. I think American elections should be abolished because American elections are part of why nobody actually gets rid of the capitalism that's killing the planet and them. So, but anyway, that's a little aside, because elections were an invention by oligarchs to stop people from actually doing democracy. Mining companies sent indigenous miners to their death. Mining companies, in conjunction with the United States government, told staff to keep any educational materials, as well as verbal education about radiation, away from indigenous people. Many indigenous miners went into these mines with no protective gear, no ventilator mask, or mask of any kind, and then went home in their work uniforms to be washed by their wives in their homes, exposing their families. All miners have died. So let me say that again. All the miners died. All miners have died, and a lot of them died early because of the exposure, the massive exposure to radiation. Displacing indigenous peoples to build U.S. military bases. Oppenheimer tells the infamous story of the Trinity test and nuclear bomb testing at Pueblo and Apache lands. The project was directed by physicist Kenneth Bainbridge and took place at the U.S. Air Force Alamogordo bombing and gunnery range. However, the U.S. Air Force Base also has a history of inhumanely and forcefully removing indigenous Puebloan and Apache peoples off their land to establish its base in 1898. Removal of Mescalero Apache indigenous people began in May 29, 1873 by executive order of Ulysses S. Grant. So the place where the places where they were working on the bomb is places of mass indigenous forced displacement and genocide. It's genocide, So and I saw somebody pointed out there was in a movie that might have been released, a terrible movie made by a right-wing reactionary named Christopher Nolan, who made terrible movies, that pro-propaganda, anti-mass organizing movies like the Dark Knight series. Terrible director Christopher Nolan in one of these movies apparently said that it had a scene where after nuclear bombing and irradiating to absolute worthlessness and complete toxicity, complete unlivable, post-apocalyptic wasteland toxicity, then the United States said, oh, maybe we can give that land back. But that's what they do. That the United States did the same thing in Hawaii. The United States did the same thing in Hawaii. Actually, recently, one of the recent things, the U.S. used this land, right? The U.S. There's this story that came out. I'm gonna try to not swear. I'm a native Hawaiian, so this is incredibly infuriating. But a lot of white people were sending me this story. A lot of Americans were sending me this story. How great is it that the U.S. military is doing land back? Okay? Josh Green is a fucking ghoul. He's the governor of the fake state of Hawaii that doesn't exist. I'm having trouble keeping my head on at this point whenever I see this guy. This guy took credit for showing up. Speaking of the nuclear arms, the destruction of the world, the United States, I feel like I just got to go through the goddamn Hawaii thread because I'm already so pissed off right now. But the United States gave land backed 363 acres on Molokai, and this fucking liar who takes millions of dollars from the military industrial complex, who is complicit in the ongoing genocide of Hawaiians, who has supported all of the ban of Hawaiian language and culture that they still do in Hawaii. The principals of schools in Hawaii say that no Hawaiian should be speaking any Hawaiian. To the teachers of that school, I have this from teachers who work in the public schools of this man's fake state of fucking Hawaii. And this guy has taken credit for showing up to stop the poisoning of the entire 1 million person island of Oahu. He has taken, he said he was part of the Oahu Water Protectors and led the charge to stop the military poisoning of Hawaii. He hadn't shown up for any single action. He literally took credit for what we Hawaiians and our supporters have been marching for over years now. Years to stop the U.S. military destroying Hawaii. And this guy showed up and did some photo ops and then got some idiot white liberal voters and other settler Asian voters that are complicit in the U.S. dual colonialism in Hawaii and Okinawa to vote for him and brainwash the Hawaiians he showed up to help continue their brainwashing by pretending America cares about Hawaiians, which it absolutely does not. You want me to tell me? I can tell you about that for 80 hours. But this guy went on TV again saying the U.S. Air Force has returned 363 acres on Molokai, and this is a great thing for the Hawaii because the United States and its military care so much about Hawaiians. Here's some land back, but that land is full of bombs. It's a site that they have bombed, that they have tested all kinds of unknown toxins, munitions. You know, they're just like, here, have some land, get yourself killed, like little children in Vietnam or Laos. You know, I mean, it's actually, well, it's worse in Vietnam and in Laos and Cambodia. Like, they've way worse damage, right? Which the United States used Hawaii to launch those wars, by the way. What do the United States in Hawaii? Oh, that's right, to prevent the spread of communism. The United States is in Hawaii to kill the world by maintaining capitalism. That's why the United States is in Hawaii. So, but also, when they talk about doing land back in this movie, it's giving back annihilated, destroyed land. Because America, basically, the U.S. is like, we have done everything we could possibly do to test nuclear weapons to nuke China and the Soviet Union to prevent the spread of communism by blowing up indigenous land here. So we can't nuke it anymore to keep maintaining the death cult that is capitalism and destroying the world. So here, indigenous people have this radiated land back. That's what they did in Molokai. The United States it can't exist anymore. I'm so sorry. Your country's garbage. Americans, you got to get on this. You know, you got to get the fuck on this. But you know, the strikers are on it. You know, because also there's a Boots Riley sometimes makes movies, and I can't talk about it specifically which one, but he makes TV shows as well. And you know, there's like an instruction booklet, you know, and sometimes when he does things, when Boots Riley does things, right? And there is a specific process that can be taken, and it's not like the actual steps are not exact, but one of the very important steps is organizing your labor, getting in the union, supporting all the strikes, and continuing the mass withholding of labor in targeted and creative and specific ways in order to over time struggle and undo the capitalist class, which is what Cuba and China have done, and you haven't done because you're cowards and you're spoiled little brats. So anyways, nuclear waste, and also get the fuck out of Hawaii. Nuclear energy was made popular due to corporate lobbying by utility companies, scientists, as well as the United States government during the 1960s into the 1970s. However, to this day, the United States does not have a central repository for waste generated. I'm just too pissed off right now. Whenever I see shit that their U.S. is doing, it just fucking makes me lose it. The United States does not have a central repository for waste generated by nuclear power plants, and this waste is generally kept at the site which it was created. It should also be noted that from 1946 to 1993, many countries around the world used the world's oceans to dump nuclear waste into. The United States supports the Japanese neoliberal and far right to this day, and that's who is gonna. The United States supports Japanese nuclear radiating the Pacific Ocean because the United States is the #1 nuclear poisoner of the world. That's what this threat is, right? So people talk about some white 60-year-old American man was like, "Oh, I'm more concerned about Fukushima." Well, you should be concerned about the United States supporting the U.S. Backed vassalized Japan and its pro-capitalist neocon supported war on China that it wants to launch, along with Australia, right? So any 60-year-old white guy going, well, I was in the military, I know this. Oh, my daddy was trafficking narco for the CIA with JFK, and the problem is we just have a few too many conspiracy theorists. Or no, my conspiracy theory is my bodily fluids were tainted by the communist heroin, and there's other brands of heroin that are much better, or the United States has, no. The theory is, why haven't you taken the country that is ostensibly a democracy away from the capitalist mass brainwashing, mass violence based planet killing oligarchy that you still have? I hate this 67-year-old infinite white liberal, mass obfuscation, focusing on self. The literature programs, the entire university system of the United States was constructed by the CIA basically to be like, stop writing about communism and capitalism. Stop writing about large macro scale issues and historical dialectical thinking, and stop using. Everybody write on the road, Jack Kerouac, individual centered, just being in the moment and random conspiracy stuff, right? Actually, that's important. In Dr. Strangelove, right? In Dr. Strangelove, the general, right, in Strangelove, is off on this. They're toxifying our bodies thing. I was listening to a bunch of other white guys talking with Carl, and all the white guys are going off about, it's all about this secret plot to put this substance in our bodies. This substance is getting in our bodies, and that is what's killing us. And then every single war for the last, in the 1800s and this 1960s, this president did this, and this general, right, is like, he in the movie, the movie is a black comedy. It's, I can, I'll say some positive things about it, because this one, this movie is like almost 80 years old, or what, 60 years old at least. I don't think it's a struck one, but if it is, I'll stop talking about it. But I don't think it is. But in this movie, it's a comedy. Number one, it's a comedy. I have a whole video about, if Westerners are gonna make any movies, don't make serious movies. Don't make serious movies, because you are not serious people. You are fucking clowns. You don't have an education. You have conditioning. That's what it means to live in a disinformation, asymmetrical, information-based system like capitalism. It means to be diseducated. So you shouldn't be making anything serious. You should only make comedies about how shitty you are. That's why Strangelove is good, because it's not crap. It's not absolute crap like things that Christopher Nolan makes. Because you can't say anything serious because you don't know anything as a white Western person, or just as a Western person. You don't know anything true of import. So stop making serious movies about the dilemmas of fucking literal people who probably should have defected. See, Carl pointed out that if Oppenheimer was a good person, he would have defected to the communists, but he stayed in America and helped them make nukes because he wanted to destroy the world. Obviously, I'm being facetious, but he didn't want. But he, as somebody who works for capitalism, which is now destroying the world, he stayed in the United States and lived to a ripe old age in capitalist America. So he was part and parcel of continuing to have gainful employment in an entity in the government that was destroying the world. He would be privy to this information. Why? Because he was at the highest echelons of it. But the Chinese scientists who actually started JPL defected to a communist country because he didn't want to destroy the world, right? Again, but the communists are the bad guys, and the capitalists are the good guys. Okay, welcome to 2023 when capitalism is burning the planet. This is the schizophrenia. This is the schizoid relationship that Westerners have with themselves, right? Oh my God, capitalism is burning the planet. What do we do? What do we do? What do we do? The Chinese are like, I have all these solutions, and here's some solutions under the socialist path that we have been developing. I can't hear you. I can't hear you. I can't hear you. Capitalism is killing the world. Oh my God, everything's on fire. There's a fucking heat dome. It's 170 degrees in fucking Las Vegas now. Holy shit, we're all dying. What do we do? Capitalism's killing everything. Well, we fought capitalism. We're called communist Vietnamese. Oh my God, no, you're bad guys. You see how you don't know. Westerners don't know fucking anything. They can't keep their own information straight in their head. They can't keep their information. But that's conditioning, right? That's the brainwashing. Is you can hear words. You can read words, right? And they can mean different things at different times. Like capitalism is the best thing in the world, and then it becomes the thing that's killing me. And then it's like communism is like the evil thing, but it's also the thing that's the opposite of capitalism. But the capitalism is the best thing in the world, but it's also it's that, No, that's because you are fucking brainwashed. Buffoons, and Christopher Nolan is one of them, as a privileged white British asshat who probably should have just been a wine sommelier and a taste tester, so that he could have written bullshit about how this wine tasted like olive branches and the forest floor and fucking strawberries and berries. Because I have a whole stream I just did about how wine tastes. Wine descriptions are practiced for being a bullshit artist in the West, right? Under the feudal era and the colonial capitalist and the modern era, right? So if Christopher Nolan just did beautiful bullshit descriptions of wine that don't make any fucking sense. It tastes like sour piss. That's what wine tastes like. But people talk about strawberries and fruits because that's practicing lying. So if Christopher Nolan just did that, then he would have been a better, person, But instead, he makes serious movies about bullshit, right? Like the dilemmas that Western people white privileged men supposedly have. I can't find my Gremlins show, but it's okay. I'm sure Holly's got it. I have a whole video that's just about. I'm too pissed off right now. There's a whole video. I've been listening to a lot of ridiculous stuff, and then I think about what the U.S. has done to beat the Hawaiian out of my mother and commit genocide in Hawaii, and I get more pissed off. But the thing is that if you were to just make comedies If the West were to just make comedies about how crappy a system is, that would be much better than trying to make something serious, right? It's like I said, like when you go like all reduced color palette, we're serious business. Like, you know, I'm really having serious thoughts. It doesn't work because it's you don't deserve to be taken seriously. United States does not deserve to be taken seriously because its leaders are people like it's Elon motherfucking Musk. It's like making imagine it's like taking Elon Musk, right? Who is an absolute buffoon. And I mean, do I need to spell that shit out? But you do though, right? The fact that anyone thinks that Elon Musk is anything more than a complete spoiled brat clown is proof of, and it's especially the more whiter and duder and richer you are, the more likely you are to still be looking up to that guy who literally imploded Twitter, right? Who is getting all of his cars crashed. He gets owned. He bought a website where everyone hates him, except for people that he pays or who stan him because of their whiteness, richness, and dudeness. Buy a stupid blue check mark and like basically literally offer to suck him off. Right? He bought the whole website. And he can like do basically whatever he wants, but everyone still fucking hates him on that, and he thinks he's an idiot, right? But still, there are people who still look up to him, right? That is, despite mountains of empirical evidence of how unserious, of how like he's worse than this guy, you know. At least this guy just has one problem or a few problems, right? He's like unhinged and he thinks that the bodily fluids are being tainted by Russian vodka and it's destroying the spirit of America. And you know, this guy's got like a few you know, common Western conspiracy theories rattling in his brain. Elon Musk gets millions of things wrong, you know. So a serious biopic, you know, a serious look at Elon Musk that makes it out to see like Elon had the world resting on his shoulders. Elon Musk, right? Let's put him in black and white, right? To make it all serious, you know? Like, right? Let's do reduce Christopher Nolan color palette. Christopher Nolan wishes he was as cool and smart as the Wachowskis, but he's not a based communist. He's not trans, not that you have to be, but you know. Christopher Nolan made Inception because he wishes he was the Wachowskis, but he is just a rich, white, spoiled fucking fool like Elon. And he makes movies about the dilemmas of fucking idiot white rich guys like Elon because he also is one. And again, the richer and the whiter and the more liberally you are, but you're prone to being lulled into a stupor by polysyllabic language and pretentious cinema and overwrought New York Times articles, right? That's basically all what they do. And overly flowery, absolutely misleading wine descriptions, right? If you're prone to that, then you can watch a Christopher Nolan movie that would make it Elon was a genius of his time, but he had all the weight of the world rested upon his shoulders. Like Atlas, would he shrug or would he carry the heavy weight of being the apotheosis of the West as the richest man leading the capitalist Western world, right? How would he, you know, with all of his millions of times more powerful brain cells than the average person, right? How would he navigate the knife's edge of balancing, you know, multi-planetary human civilization with funding for world-saving green energy? You can see somebody writing this. I'm waiting for Christopher Nolan to direct the biopic for why Elon was the most important figure, the greatest man of history, you know, because there's Oppenheimer and then it's like Elon, the greatest man, you know what I'm saying? And liberals will eat that shit up. They will eat that shit up. Well, I mean, some of them, they're too mad at Elon because he kicked their dumb ass off of Twitter. Because they just like Elon said some shit. He did a little too many things that sounded too Republican, and then they got mad. They added him, and now they're all on Mastodon, making it extra more liberally and even more unbearable. Unfortunately, I wish it was better, but it's full of too many rich, more disproportionately privileged white people, and all the ex New York Times blue check marks. They're all on fucking Mastodon now. It's goddamn annoying. All these 60-year-old people whose mommy and daddy were General Douglas MacArthur and his squeeze, and then mommy and daddy didn't tell him that. But while they were narco trafficking and trying to nuke China, they were swimming in the radioactive wastes of the Pacific Ocean. Not the Fukushima that the U.S. is supporting. I'm talking about the Marshall Islands. Those people are all the people who eat and watching this shitty movie, and just jerking off to it, and just really feeling so moved by it, right? Because they all picture themselves, or maybe their dad or their cousin or their brother, right, as carrying the Angloid Saxoid, carrying the weight of the universe on their shoulders. All the human race, right? What do I do? What do I do? Should I prevent the spread of communism and destroy the world, or should I like make nuclear weapons to blow up the only thing that can save the world? I don't know. Let me think about it. Let me not think about all the indigenous people that I helped kill and poison and irradiate and cause to never have babies again and put out jellyfish instead of fetuses. Let me think about that. Let me think about it. It's just such a quandary for me, right? Like I don't know. I'm Elon Musk. How will I make a multiplanetary civilization? Like, he's not making anything, right? He's not making anything. What is he doing? He's just going on Twitter, writing on napkins. Wouldn't it be cool to have a truck that has like 30 polygons, like 90s video games like Deus Ex that I love, right? And then he like throws that napkin at somebody, and if they don't do what he says, then he fires them, right? That, like, you know, but that's why you cannot take the Western white capitalist world seriously. And when you make a serious movie about it, it's just bad, and it further enables and empowers the worst kakistocrats, which is the rule by the stupidest and the least qualified, which is the white Western capitalist world, to further believe in themselves. You're giving movies that when you make a serious movie about the Western capitalist US-led international rules-based order, you reify to those people and to a lot of people who might be on the fence that it is a rules-based capitalist order, and it makes the world worse, right? And that's why you cannot accept, and if you are a Westerner, you don't have access to what it's like to be in a civilization, you know, that has like undone its parasitical corrupt structures, that has a system of education. You only have conditioning. So the only thing that you can really do, right, is to weaponize your. That's what I try to do, because I was raised in the United States genocidal boarding school system. It's called all the schools in Hawaii, right? We were forcefully Americanized. Unfortunately for me, you know, that's why I do what I do. The only thing that you can do is to satirize and black comedify and lampoon and attack informationally, artistically, as well as economically through the SAG-AFTRA and WGA strike and the UPS and all the other strikes that are coming. Thank goodness. I mean, the hope for the world is not everybody watches Oppenheimer and a bunch of white people go, oh, what will I do? There's many dilemmas. Perhaps I will vote for the Green Party. Which, like, you know, maybe I'll vote for the Democrat or the Green or one of these fucking parties. You don't have any parties. You know, I mean, one day the U.S. will have some, you know, some possibility, but, you know, there's more fundamental things that have to happen. You know, I think, you know, there's a Green Party member. There's actually a Green Party member who came in and said, "Well, Hawaii's fine. I vacation there every year." I mean, is that what you support in the Green Party? Is imperialism and continually not listening to indigenous people? I mean, what the fuck? The Green Party in Germany is like one of the most pro-war neocon. It's a neocon party, right? Green stands for cashish from the Pentagon thrown at German Greens. So you don't like that's what the only thing that you can do is like really satirize, you know, informationally. It's not even really attacking, right? It's not even Dr. Strangelove and this wild-eyed, unhinged general who just quick little IMDb plot. He orders an attack, top secret attack formation R, right? Which is basically taking the dozens of nuclear armed B-52 bombers and circling Russia to fly into Russia and blow it, nuke all the targets that they have on the list, right? And so the general starts nuclear war unilaterally without approval of the president because he believes this unhinged, idea that the Russians are poisoning Americans' bodily fluids through the fluoride in the water, and that is going to destroy the spirit of America. He also believes that he discovered this while making love to a woman, and after his orgasm, he felt amazingly fatigued and tired and winded, and he said, with my great powers of empirical observation, I came to the right conclusion, which is that women are sapping men's essence through extraction of men's bodily fluids. And so he never ever has given his essence. He has made love to a woman but never given her his essence, because that is women's plot to extract there's even like modern, right? There's the modern, like, crypto bro, bro Jorgen Peterson, Jordan Rogan, whatever his name is, right? There's like there's a feminist conspiracy to destroy the patriarchy, and you have to keep our men essence inside of ourselves, like men's rights activists. Elon Musk is a member of them, by the way, right? And so there's like that has a long the vaccine anti-vax the vaccines have secret ingredients that are causing my child to have autism, and the vaccines are gonna make me sterile and kill me in a few years with a Chinese conspiracy fentanyl vaccine plot to put this in, and hydroxychloroquine with some horse dewormer that will solve my COVID, all that stuff. That has a long history. And it's in Strangelove, right? He's like, they're putting the fluoride and this others. You ever seen a communist drink water? Russians don't drink water. The communist does not drink water. I believe they're an alien invasion. They drink only vodka. And they are destroying us by filling our bodies with the most impure bodily fluids. And so he starts nuclear war. But no, that is 100% that could absolutely happen today, right? It's like it's funny, but it's also terrifying. It wouldn't be terrifying, right? Dr. Strangelove wouldn't be terrifying if it wasn't literally possible. But that's why it's a black comedy. But it not only is it possible, it's actually sadly likely that is a way. I don't have time to cover all the articles I found this week, but it's something. It is something. But here's something I want to point this out, because this is one of my top headlines this week. I was reading about like the intelligence industrial complex. Okay, so I gotta go. It's 11:55. Over just a few months, ChatGPT went from correctly answering a simple math problem 98% of the time to just 2%, study finds. And let me just get that. ChatGPT 98%, 2%. I forget exactly where that was from, but it keeps coming. Yahoo, right? So ChatGPT's accuracy in solving basic math problems precipitously and amazingly declined, right? 98% to 2% within months, right? So ChatGPT, as I said, for artificial intelligence, garbage in, garbage out, right? Like Elon, right? You put Elon in, you're gonna get Elon out, right? So ChatGPT has gone from answering simple math problem 98% of the time to just 2% of the time. Right after that, Wired had this article: a Battlefield AI company says it's one of the good guys
Helsing AI, brilliant name. Just anyways. Helsing AI is building an operating system for warfare and says it will only ever sell to democracies. So, and I put AI launches missiles at civilians 98% of the time. Headline in 6 months. So literally, the United States, again, to prevent the spread of communism and to maintain capitalism that's killing the world, the United States now has AI. It's like literally just making Skynet come true, right? From Terminator. Do you want Terminator 2, Judgment Day, nuclear holocaust? Do you want that Oppenheimer bomb to nuke you, right? Do you want Fallout? This is how you get it, you know? You make an AI that like goes within a few months. Okay, so you know, right? The time so give AI the nuclear weapons, give control over the U.S. military and all Western democracies. You know, I mean, so like again, right? Democracies. There's no democracies that are capitalist, but anyways. We're only gonna ever sell to the democracies. They mean are Ukraine. They mean Japan. They mean all the NATO countries. They mean all the most belligerent warmongering countries, trying to prevent the spread of communism, prevent the end of capitalism. So the Battlefield AI company is going to give control over the military itself. I mean, it doesn't have to be the nuclear tipped ICBMs. Don't have to be given to the AI. The AI could just the AI is. I mean, I was reading the article. It's horrifying. The thing is, right. This is worse than Strangelove. In Strangelove, there are human beings, right? Like just Strangelove, War Map, right? There are human beings, right? In Doctor Strangelove, who are at least attempting to make decisions, right? So they have the Joint Chiefs of Staff, the United States, the military commanders, and there's a Russian ambassador comes in for a bit, right? They are looking at the nuclear map in the war room wall, right? And like they're like, what can we do? So the general sets it off in motion. The president, I mean, at least the president is somewhat sane, somewhat. I mean, the United States has a president who can barely fucking stand upright for 2 minutes without being jacked up on all of the narco trafficker, Anglo-Saxoid intelligence agencies, substances they can get their fucking hand on, right? So the other hand is a Nazi, spastic, accidentally sig heiling, a crowd hand, as they say in Doctor Strangelove. But the war room is actually, right, they're trying to think, okay, what if we get the code, there's a code that once the attack is launched, you cannot take it back, right? So we can get that code, we can send that code to, we can call back this nuclear strike, right? Stop the end of the world. Okay, and then they're like, the general has walled himself in. So the U.S. military declares war on itself. So that's actually that's already happened, actually, technically. It's multiple times. Although it hasn't got to full shooting yet. The military has fissured. I talked about that more at length on the streams, but I can't have time for it. But the U.S. military, there's the general who has like lost it and ordered the strike. The rest of the U.S. military attacks another, like an army base attacks a U.S. Air Force base, and then you have Americans shooting Americans on American soil to get in, right, to stop the end of the fucking world, because the Russians are going to respond, and the whole world will be in nuclear winter, and all major cities will be decimated. Again, apocalypse. So, but there are human beings. The president is like trying to do phone calls. He's trying to call up Dmitry, which is the other Russian, the Russian counterpart, right, head of Russia. He's like, please, we accidentally sent out, we accidentally ordered our own Air Force to drop nuclear weapons all over Russia, all across their entire country, and blow up all of the main targets. And then the Russian president is obviously pissed off, and then he's like, okay, what can we do? Well, I'll tell you where the planes are, and Russians you can blow them up, and we're gonna try to recall all the other ones that we can't. As soon as we can get that code, we'll recall all the planes. And there's like, at least there's a few people trying to right. There are a handful of slightly sane people around that basically have prevented multiple nuclear wars, but it's a very small handful of people. if it's like, this will cause you to go gray real fast if you start working at the highest levels. Then this is one of the things that will cause it. Is like there are people, right? Was it Vasily Arkhipov is one of the people who very narrowly, one of 3 nuclear submarine commanders who vetoed 2 other commanders who authorized a nuclear strike on the United States at one point. That was just one point of like 300 plus documented points where nuclear war almost began, because the United States capitalist idiocy wanted to prevent the spread of communism rather than just allow it and then save the world from climate change and ecological collapse. The United States has prevented the end of capitalism and killed the world. That's one of, as I said, right? Anytime anybody says I fought for the United States, you fought to kill the world with capitalism that you maintained. It's like fighting for the United States is like being a satellite cancer cell fighting to maintain cancer in the human body, right? Well, I fought for that tumor in my brain. I fought for that, neocyte that broke off into my bloodstream. I fought to keep leukemia in place. How does that's what, when you fight for the United States, that's what you fought for, to kill. But it's not just the body, it's the whole fucking planet. So, but some people were like, oh my God, we can't let this happen. We can't let this whole world die, right? I mean, we can't let the fast track U.S. killing the world happen. We don't want the nuclear fire. Let's do the slower fire, the slower climate. Let's die a little bit slower, right? The difference, the neocons versus the neoliberals. The neocons are like, let's just die from a giant brain tumor getting so big it causes your brain to malfunction. And the neolibs are like, well, let's like let the cancer slowly percolate through your entire body until like multiple major organs shut down. It takes longer, right, than a fast-growing tumor that kills you. But it it will kill you eventually, right? Those are the two parties of the United States. Those are the only 2 real differences. The Democrats and Republicans aren't. There's no difference between them. The 2 differences are like, should we kill the world fast by, making war on China and shooting nukes at them, or should we kill it slower by maintaining capitalism and then not shooting the nukes immediately? That's Bill Gates versus Tony Blinken, right? It's Bill Gates. It's Elon Musk. I want to do a little bit more business versus Bill Gates, Elon Musk versus Jake Sullivan, and Victoria Nuland, the neocons, right? They're literally descendants of Strangelove, actually, actual real world Strangelove. Victoria Nuland, who helped do the coup in Ukraine, descendant of that same legacy of the Brzezinskis and the Strangeloves, playing and ruling the world. Anyways, so, but the thing is, with this AI story, there is no human in the mix, right? And yeah, they bring up the dead hand, the doomsday device that would cause the whole world to die. If anyone shoots nukes, this device that it's a nuclear blast that puts so much radioactive cobalt isotope of some kind, I think it's cobalt or thorium isotope of some kind, into the atmosphere that all life on Earth would perish, right? So it's literally a device that it just causes the end of all life as a mutually assured destruction deterrent, right? In the nuclear, anyways. So, but the thing is that so that system is set to automatically respond if the United States launches a nuclear attack, right? And so we have to stop it. We have to stop it because there's no human in the mix, right? We have to stop the planes dropping any bombs because the machine will automatically respond, right? I Have No Mouth and I'm a Scream, the Terminator, a lot of Skynet, all this stuff is kind of based on what the United States has already done, right? See, one way to think about it is, if the United States had allowed the spread of communism, there would not be nuclear war, there would not be many of the wars, there would simply be, right, the end of capitalism. But that's not what happened. What the United States did was, let's threaten to kill the world fast so that we could kill the world slower, right? Let's threaten to kill the world in 5 seconds of nuclear fire so that we can kill the world over 100 years with capitalism. Do you see it like that? There is no win. There's no good guy in the United States. There is none. And in the capitalist world, Western world, there's no good guy. There's like kill the world fast or kill the world slow. Communism is like, let's collectively work together to get rid of the systems that stop people from having their basic needs met and are literally destroying the ecology, and work together for mutual win-win cooperation and for mutual benefit. And things won't be, that doesn't solve all problems. Communism doesn't solve climate change. immediately. It doesn't just get rid of it. You still have to deal with it. It doesn't solve socialism. Doesn't solve COVID pandemics. It doesn't solve disease. It doesn't solve famine like off the bat. It doesn't solve ecological disasters. It doesn't solve even like crimes of passion. It doesn't solve like people stubbing their toe. It doesn't solve all the problems, but it gets rid of the most important, biggest problems, right? Getting rid of cancer doesn't stop you from being able to catch a cold, but it won't cause you to die soon, needlessly, right? You see that, but the United States fights to keep cancer of the world in place. So, and now the United States has automated systems to keep the cancer of the world in place, systems which will automatically be deciding where to shoot the bombs. Unlike in the Strangelove, where it's humans, right? The drama is the humans, right? This is also an argument for not giving AI so much power. Because AI, number one, it's not even AI. It's just, it is probabilistic autocomplete software is basically what it is. And also plagiarism algorithms. That's all it is. It's a way to steal artists and writers' work without paying them for it, and then a statistical human sentence mimicry software, right? That's what ChatGPT, Stable Diffusion is. This is like high frequency plagiarism, and so, but they're not even correct. And now the United States and its capitalist system and the more Strangelovian neocon branch want to give the AI to the world's militaries, who, again, if you just going by that, right? The thing is, these are all capitalist companies. They don't care if it works or it fucking breaks. I mean, they can't make F-35s. They can't. I mean, I talk about that so much. I feel like a broken record, so I'll just leave it. I won't go off on that one. But the AI company, Helsing AI, terrible name. Obviously, I was joking earlier, but so Americans, take your country back from Strangelove and Elon the Techno King, the fast world killers and the slow world killers. That's what you got to do, and so that's why we support the SAG-AFTRA strike, among other things, and also land back for Indigenous people. That is part of that's a boost in this speeding up the process of undoing these unjust systems, because one of them is anti-indigeneity, of course, racism, of course, sexism, of course, the anti-LGBTQ plus, which are all comorbid with a unjust, unhealed, broken system like Westernism, I call it, but certainly capitalism. And so if you, but anyway, I don't like this. When I read this, like, this is worse than Strangelove, this is worse, right? Because, ostensibly the systems, like, no systems, not in the aircraft, not in the war room, none of the systems, the computer systems they had, were constantly malfunctioning. You know what I'm saying? Every problem that caused the end of the world in Doctor Strangelove was human errors. They didn't even factor in buggy programming caused by mountains of shortcuts, including the things that the Boeing Corporation did, which is to pay $8 an hour to brand new coders, no experience, replacing 35-year veteran, long time AI, actual artificial intelligent autopiloting software for the MAS system on the Boeing 737. They let go of all of their elite, their top tier, experienced veteran coders. It brought all new people in to code the buggy AI, and guess what? The plane started crashing. They had to ground all the 737s. They lost 20 to 40% of their entire stock of the number one flagship American corporation. Boeing is the number one export. 7% of all U.S. exports were Boeing planes at one point. And the planes all had to be grounded because they badly programmed. This is not just like, it's critical. It's life or death. If a plane decides to start landing 30 seconds after it takes off, that's the death of hundreds of people and possibly more depending on where it's taking off, right? And an explosion of this massive aircraft. So the United States has already chosen to cut huge corner. The U.S. military F-35 was just completely grounded. It was a total boondoggle, total failure, right? It's trying to sell all of its broken F-35s to Central South America. The Middle East are like, fuck you, we don't want no F-35s. The UAE is like, I don't want your garbage fucking plane. That like I knew somebody who actually was in the military and he actually helped to train Saudis to kill children in school buses with the Hellfire with the missiles launched by the F-35. And he said like 9 out of 10 times the missiles wouldn't fire because of how badly produced the F-35 was. So anyway, the United States has already badly programmed its Boeing systems. It has badly made its planes, among countless other things, and it is now making automated AI military command software to decide what. And part of what it does is it decides who is an enemy and who is a friend and foe detection. So you have broken, buggy, capitalist, glitch-filled software deciding who it's going to be shooting missiles, bombs, HIMARS, all these crap. The only good thing is the Americans' weapons are all shit. So, it's both good and bad. The good thing is, like, they're just all going to get captured by the Russians in Ukraine as the U.S. keeps losing that ridiculous fucking horrible war. But the other bad thing is, like, well, if even they're still destructive, if they accidentally hit the wrong target, you can accidentally set off World War III. Anyway, so, so again, it's funny, but it's also black. This is black comedy, right? This is black comedy. But this is the United States. So you guys got to get on that. That's all I'm going to tell you. Okay. I don't have time to go over all the other threads that I said I was going to go over. I'm just too, I cannot go over sometimes too much. I cannot go over too much of the Hawaii stuff without fucking just getting too pissed off. But anyways, everything we do here is, as always, supported. Thanks a lot for dropping in, Big Teal. We chose not to specifically, promote any movies in particular. Not any recent movies that are being struck, certainly. In support of the SAG-AFTRA and the Writers Guild strike. But Neofeud is not made by a capitalist corporation. It is made by a anti-capitalist indigenous cooperative. And so when you buy Neofeud, you are supporting chemotherapy for the world. You're supporting medicine for the world, because that's what we're trying to do is get rid of the capitalist system that is destroying Hawaii, destroying everyone. The fast way through nuclear and world wars, and the slow way through total climate and ecological death. So support Silver Spoon Games. Grab Neofeud or any of our other games. Patreon support, Ko-Fi support. Don't forget, I know you're like, Silver Spoon, wasn't the game just on sale? And I'm like, sorry, it just went back on sale. I actually meant to start it a little bit later, but the Steam glitched out a little bit. It was a little bit of a, where it was like, what it showed me was incorrect. It said, put the game on sale last week. So, even your game stuff has problems sometimes. So, even more reason why there shouldn't be AI really in and certainly not in warfare. But I think a lot of it is not up to snuff. Anyways, Neofeud is on sale. Don't forget to grab it on Steam. Don't forget to grab it on itch.io. There is a Doctor Strangelove like character in it. His name is General Walker Coke Jobs, which all he wants to do is get that war started and take out some commies. You can also get Neofeud on itch.io for Windows, Mac, and for Linux. It is also, maximum revenue comes to us when you buy it on itch.io. You can get Decolonators, which is literally, speaking of games where you prevent the spread of communism, Decolonators is where you stop the spread of capitalism by kicking colonizer capitalist asses out of Vietnam in RetroArcade Game Glory, made with an actual Vietnamese person and myself. So this is the anti-Oppenheimer game, right? Center indigenous people's voices and struggles against nuclear-armed capitalist powers. Don't make serious movies about how these unserious people felt worried, Play Decolonators, right? Even big, crappy content creators have apparently played this game. Some of them, not all of them are crappy. Some of them are cool, like Luna and EJ played it. But anyways, also Terminus, Woman is a book by Holly that is about being raised in right-wing evangelical Protestant Christianity, and Woman is a book that Holly has put out, and it is based on that experience, and also is free, or you can throw some money our way when you pick it up. As I said, support us through patreon.com/Neofeud for access to the Silver Spook Discord, behind the scenes on what we're currently working on. And also, you get the Silver Spook University, 1,000 hours of all of the content we've ever put out. And it is all categorized according to the topics in which they fall under. You can also follow at Silver Spook Games at mastodon.social or at Silver Spook Games at octodon.social. On Twitter, you can follow at Silver Spook Guy. at Silver Spoon Guy, or at Silver Spoon Games for the games related stuff. We also have Instagram and Facebook. Don't forget to follow Terminus C if you like Cyberpunk. I talked about Deus Ex. If you like Deus Ex and System Shock, but you don't want Elon Musk style games because that guy doesn't even understand Deus Ex, which does have actually a lot of left leanings in it. Consider following Terminus Cyberstar, which is a game that I have the pleasure of being the content director and lead writer of. Speaking of writers, and this is a game that is coming out sometime in the near future. And yeah, if you want, follow it, join the Discord, and don't forget to follow Holly. Holly at the Tech Fairy is poet, educator, moderator here for myself, married to myself, producer and writer for Kate Nix TV, which is a weekly gathering of goblins and music and fun, and I'm often in the open mic day as well. And then I will look like that later on today. Yeah, thanks a lot, everybody. Thanks a lot, Big Teal, for showing up. And we'll be back soon in the evening for the Twitch stream around 5 Pacific time / 8 Eastern. All right, take it easy. Keep it mercy spots. Be excellent to each other. Stop worrying and undo your capitalist ruling class. There you go. Learn to stop worrying and undo your capitalist